Welcome to Weather with Enthusiasm, the show where we read the real forecast discussions from the people who make the forecasts, and then we translate every last piece of jargon into plain language. I am your host, and today, Friday, July 17th, 2026, is a genuinely fascinating weather day across the planet. Here is our one ground rule, and it matters. Everything you are about to hear was pulled from forecast products at specific times, and we prioritize official government and meteorological sources. Our information cutoff for this episode is 12:53 in the afternoon Central Time on July 17th. The atmosphere never sits still, so please treat every forecast here as a snapshot. Forecasts can change, and for anything that affects your safety, your local weather service always has the latest word. One more note, in the interest of honesty. This episode was produced with the assistance of artificial intelligence. The research, the writing, and the narration may be AI generated. Most of the weather information comes from official government and meteorological sources, cited at the time stated. A few figures come from secondary or commercial sources, and we will clearly label those when we reach them. This program is for general information, and it is not a substitute for official warnings. Today, we start at home in Chicago. Then we follow a river of Canadian wildfire smoke. We tour extreme heat on 3 continents. We visit Israel, the Lut Desert of Iran, and the steamy Persian Gulf. And we finish with the big picture science and the storm outlook. Let us begin. Our home forecast comes straight from the National Weather Service office in Chicago, which actually sits in Romeoville, Illinois. Forecasters there write something called an area forecast discussion. Think of it as the forecaster's open notebook, a plain text narrative explaining the reasoning behind the official forecast. This one carries a timestamp of 6:18 in the morning, Central Time, on July 17th, which in Universal Time is 11:18. The core discussion was written a bit earlier at 3:25 in the morning. Let us begin with the key messages, read as written. Warm and humid conditions will continue through Saturday. Smoke persists across portions of northeast Illinois and northwest Indiana through this morning. A renewed push of smoke may be in store for late Saturday and Sunday. Isolated to scattered showers and thunderstorms are anticipated this afternoon and evening. A couple of showers cannot be ruled out during the morning as well. Additional thunderstorms are possible on Saturday with the potential for strong to severe storms, especially near and south of Interstate 80. A quick translation of 2 things there. Isolated to scattered is forecaster language for coverage. Isolated means only a few spots. Scattered means more widespread, but still not everywhere. And Interstate 80 is being used as geographic shorthand, a highway line to mark roughly where the southern part of the area starts. The occasional shower has been popping up all night and into early this morning around the outskirts of the Chicago metro area. These are forming along a theta E gradient and subtle convergent axis encircling northeast Illinois. This feature is, in part, the leftovers of a lake breeze boundary that produced some isolated showers and storms last evening as it pushed inland. Less than 20 knots of cloud layer flow have rendered these showers very slow-moving, if not nearly stationary at times. And while these convective showers have been generally low-topped with no lightning since last evening, around 1.75 inches of precipitable water, along with the lack of shear, have allowed for pockets of moderate to heavy rainfall, with most showers that have popped up. One storm late last evening managed to drop over 2.5 inches in 1 hour just outside of our southeast county warning area boundary and prompted a flood advisory immediately east of the Porter-White County line. That paragraph is dense with terminology, so let us unpack every technical term. Theta E, written Theta-E, is short for equivalent potential temperature. It is a single number that bundles together how warm and how humid the air is. A theta E gradient is a zone where that value changes quickly across a short distance. In other words, a boundary between muggier and less muggy air, and storms love to form along it. A convergence axis, or convergence, is simply a line where winds are coming together. When air converges, it has nowhere to go but up, and rising air makes clouds and showers. A lake breeze boundary is the leading edge of cooler air that blows inland off Lake Michigan on a warm day. It acts like a mini cold front. Cloud layer flow is the wind speed through the layer where the clouds live, and less than 20 knots of it, a knot being about 1 1/6 miles per hour, means the winds steering these storms are weak, which is why they barely move. Low-topped convection means the thunderstorm clouds are not growing very tall. Convective just means driven by rising warm air, the engine of showers and storms. Precipitable water is the total amount of water vapor stacked in a column of the atmosphere, expressed as how deep the rain would be if you wrung it all out. 1.75 inches is a lot of moisture. And shear is the change in wind with height. Here, the lack of shear, combined with all that moisture, is a recipe for slow storms that dump heavy rain in one place. County warning area is the patch of counties this particular office is responsible for, and a flood advisory is a public alert for minor flooding, a step below a flood warning. The discussion continues. Over the past few hours, the isolated showers steering over our county warning area have been pulsy and progressive enough that there have not been any concerns outside of perhaps some localized ponding in low spots. A broad shortwave impulse is in the process of ejecting northeast out of the lower Missouri Valley early this morning. A slug of low to mid-level moisture is being transported northward into our general vicinity on the nose of the decaying wave and will continue to overspread the area as it gets gobbled up by the upper ridge atop the Great Lakes today. The theta E advection, with the added upper forcing from the wave, should continue to promote isolated shower development through the rest of the morning. An isolated thunderstorm or two cannot be ruled out either, especially after dawn, as conditions will quickly destabilize between the theta E advection and diurnal heating. Let us define the new terms there. Pulsy and progressive is forecaster shorthand. Pulsy means the showers pulse up and fade quickly, and progressive means they keep moving along rather than sitting still. Ponding is shallow water pooling on the ground. A shortwave impulse is a small ripple in the upper level winds that nudges air upward and helps storms grow. To eject northeast simply means it is being flung off to the northeast. Low to mid-level refers to the lower and middle heights of the atmosphere. The nose of the wave is the leading edge of that ripple. A decaying wave is one that is weakening. The upper ridge atop the Great Lakes is a dome of high pressure high in the atmosphere sitting over the region, and we will explore ridges in detail later in the show. Advection is the horizontal transport of a property by the wind, so theta E advection means warm, humid air being carried in by the wind. Upper forcing is the lift supplied from higher up in the atmosphere. To destabilize means to make the atmosphere more prone to rising air and storms. And diurnal heating is the warming of the ground by the sun through the course of the day. Next, the model reasoning for the rest of the day. Precipitable water values are forecast to climb as high as 2.25 inches in our South and Southeast County warning area by the end of the morning, as this wave continues to fill in over the area, and the latest convection allowing model guidance suggests parts of our area, mainly outside of the Chicago metro, may be uncapped by late morning. This will set the stage for renewed shower and thunderstorm chances during the day, especially during the afternoon and evening. The main low-level vorticity lobe tied to the wave will lay out across the area later this afternoon and interact with the largely uncapped near-surface environment. However, subsequent runs of the rapid refresh and the high-resolution rapid refresh have been on a slight downward trend in precipitation coverage around the area today, likely owing in part to a modest downtick in the expected strength of the wave and the resulting forcing. The medium-range models are a bit more bullish with coverage, but the 6Z suite has yet to populate as of this writing. Given the low-level instability at play, it would not be difficult to get a fair coverage of storms later today. Regardless, ultimately, the highest coverage and rainfall amount is strongly favored across eastern portions of the county warning area, primarily around areas near and east of Interstate 55. In the forecast, broad-brushed chances for scattered thunderstorms during the afternoon. Biggest concerns with thunderstorms today would be heavy rainfall and the potential for localized flooding or ponding, especially if more than one of these slow-moving cells stir over the same area. Time to define this batch of terms. When a wave fills, it is weakening and losing its punch. Convection-allowing model guidance, often shortened to CAM, refers to high-resolution computer forecast models detailed enough to simulate individual thunderstorms. A cap, or capping inversion, is a warm layer a little way up that acts like a lid, holding storms down. When that lid erodes, the atmosphere becomes uncapped and storms can finally rise freely. A vorticity lobe, or vort lobe, is a pocket of atmospheric spin that promotes rising air and storms. The rapid refresh and the high-resolution rapid refresh are rapid update computer forecast models run by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Medium-range models are the ones that look further out in time. Bullish is forecaster slang for leaning toward more, in this case, more storm coverage. The 6Z suite means the set of model runs that start at 6 o'clock Universal Time. To populate means the data had not fully arrived yet when this was written. Instability is the tendency of warm, near-ground air to rise rapidly and fuel storms. And rainfall amount here translates the technical term QPF, which stands for Quantitative Precipitation Forecast, the predicted amount of rain.
In other news, it will be another warm one today, with temperatures projected in the 80s and lower 90s and afternoon heat index values as high as 100 degrees. But storm coverage may have a say on temperature trends today as well. Projected is the plain word for the forecaster's term progged, meaning forecast. The heat index is the apparent temperature, what the heat actually feels like to your body, once you factor in humidity, because humid air makes it harder for sweat to cool you. Now the smoke, which is a major theme today. Regarding the smoke and air quality, today will begin similarly smoky to the latter part of yesterday. Early morning air quality index readings from around the area reside well into hazardous territory, and an air quality alert is in effect for today across northern and northeastern Illinois and northwestern Indiana. Although notable improvements are anticipated through the day, especially later in the day, as westerly winds build through the column. Those should push the higher smoke concentrations back off to our east and northeast. The reprieve may be short-lived, however, with another plume projected to overspread the region on Saturday behind a southward-moving cold front, which may degrade air quality yet again. Terms to define. The Air Quality Index, AQI, is the Environmental Protection Agency's zero and up scale, where higher numbers mean worse air. The top category, hazardous, begins at 301. An air quality alert is a public health advisory for unhealthy air. Through the column means through the vertical depth of the atmosphere, not just at the surface. A plume is a ribbon of smoke, and a cold front is the leading edge of cooler, denser air that here is expected to usher a fresh batch of smoke southward.
Then the setup for Saturday's storms. That cold front will drop across the Wisconsin state line during the earlier part of Saturday morning and continue working south through our area into the afternoon. Highly unstable conditions are expected to build ahead of the advancing front. However, the environment ahead of the front looks markedly capped through at least mid-morning, by which time the front should be approaching, if not south, of Interstate 80. Capping should wane ahead of the front into the afternoon, and a line of convection is favored to develop atop the area. 3,000 to 4,000 plus joules of mixed layer CAPE ahead of the front may support severe convection, despite only around 20 knots of effective shear. Biggest severe concern on Saturday will be damaging downburst winds. A small to marginally severe hail threat may also exist, as well as a heavy rain and localized flooding threat. With their newest Day 2 outlook, the Storm Prediction Center has most of the county warning area in a marginal Level 1 of 5 severe risk for Saturday, with a slight Level 2 of 5 risk for areas roughly near and south of Interstate 80, where the environment will be more supportive as the front moves across than areas to the north. The key terms here: state line is simply the Illinois-Wisconsin border. Unstable and instability describe an atmosphere where warm air near the ground wants to rise rapidly, which fuels storms. Markedly capped means the lid we mentioned is strong. When capping wanes, it weakens and fades. A line of convection is a line of thunderstorms. Mixed layer CAPE, spelled CAPE, stands for Mixed Layer Convective Available Potential Energy. It is essentially the fuel gauge for thunderstorms, measured in joules per kilogram, and 3,000 to 4,000 is a lot of fuel. Effective shear is the storm-relevant change in wind with height. At only about 20 knots, it is on the weak side, which limits how organized storms get. A downburst is a violent rush of air that crashes down out of a thunderstorm and blasts outward at the ground, and it is the main damaging wind threat here. And the Storm Prediction Center, which we will visit later, ranks severe risk on a 1 to 5 scale. Level 1 is marginal, Level 2 is slight, and so on up to Level 5 high.
Finally, the outlook into Sunday and the new week. High pressure building in behind the front will bring mostly sunny skies to Sunday. However, they may be filtered by that second plume of smoke on tap for the region. Additionally, gusty northerly winds in the wake of the front are expected to bring hazardous swimming conditions to area beaches on Sunday. Another synoptic system with additional chances for strong or severe storms around the region is favored for Monday as an upper trough swings into the Great Lakes. The Storm Prediction Center issued a proactive 15% risk across much of the upper Midwest, including northern Illinois, in their most recent Day 4 outlook. Look for more details regarding this Monday potential in future discussions. The last terms for this segment: high pressure is a zone of sinking, settling air that usually brings quieter, sunnier weather. The wake of the front simply means the region just behind it. A synoptic system refers to a large-scale weather feature hundreds of miles across, as opposed to a small local one, and an upper trough is a southward dip in the high-altitude winds, the opposite of a ridge, and it tends to bring clouds, lift, and storms. And that Day 4 outlook with a 15% risk is the Storm Prediction Center looking 4 days ahead and drawing a probability contour for severe storms. 15% is their threshold for flagging a meaningful early risk. For the record, the office also has an air quality alert posted until midnight tonight for much of northern Illinois and northwest Indiana, and a dense smoke advisory for the nearshore Lake Michigan waters until 4 in the afternoon.
That smoke over Chicago did not come from nowhere, so let us follow it north. Our clearest window into the smoke comes from the National Weather Service office in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which devoted an entire labeled section of its discussion to it, headed simply Smoke Trends. That discussion was written at 1:41 in the morning, Central Time, on July 17th. Here is the Green Bay Smoke Trends section, read as written, with only light cleanups for spoken clarity. Blanket of dense wildfire smoke continues to sit over the region early this morning, impacting air quality and visibility. Expectation is that as winds veer around to the southwest today, smoke will clear out from southwest to northeast. For areas in central Wisconsin, clearing is expected to begin late this morning, 9 to 11 a.m., while areas in far northeast Wisconsin and along the lakeshore may not see much improvement until 7 to 9 p.m. this evening. Unfortunately, the reprieve from the smoke will be relatively short, as the rapid refresh, the high-resolution rapid refresh, and the rapid refresh forecast system all show a second wave of smoke overtaking much of the forecast area Saturday as winds turn northwesterly behind a cold front. There is some uncertainty with how dense the second round of smoke may be due to fire behavior over the next 48 hours, but smoke models are generally less aggressive with concentrations this weekend than what we have seen the last 2 days. For next week, periods of smoke may continue to cycle over the region anytime winds are persistently out of the northwest to northeast, while persistently southerly winds will bring generally more clear conditions. Let us define every specialized term in that passage. To veer is a precise wind word. It means the wind direction turning clockwise over time, for example, swinging from southeast around to southwest. Visibility is literally how far you can see. Smoke cuts it down. Then 3 model names: the rapid refresh, the high-resolution rapid refresh, and the rapid refresh forecast system are all rapid update computer forecast models run by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and each has a smoke predicting version that estimates where smoke will drift, both at the surface and higher up. Concentrations refers to how much smoke or fine particulate is packed into the air. And fire behavior is exactly what it sounds like: how actively the fires are burning and lofting smoke, which is one of the biggest sources of uncertainty in any smoke forecast.
Now, a really important distinction that another office, Marquette, Michigan, spelled out well. There is a difference between smoke at the surface and smoke high above your head. Marquette's discussion, written at 3:35 in the morning Eastern Time, put it this way, read as written. Given the dense smoke concentration over the area, there remain questions surrounding how much diurnally driven surface-based instability will be realized, and if dry, smoky air aloft may entrain into developing updrafts, altogether limiting severe potential. Gusty south to southwest winds may be able to clear some of the densest smoke out of the western interior Upper Peninsula, as indicated by the most recent high-resolution smoke guidance. But heavy near-surface smoke is still modeled to stick around much of the area today. Here is what those terms mean. Diurnally driven means driven by the daily cycle of the sun. Diurnal heating is the warming of the ground through the day. That heating normally builds surface-based instability, the near-ground fuel for storms. Aloft means up above, higher in the atmosphere. To entrain is to pull surrounding air into something. When a storm's rising column, its updraft, entrains dry, smoky air from aloft, it can choke the storm and weaken it. So notice the two-way role of smoke here. Thick surface smoke can block sunlight and reduce heating, and smoke aloft can get pulled into storms and limit them. This is the key public health distinction. Surface smoke, or near-surface smoke, is the smoke down where you breathe. It is what fouls the air and drops visibility, and it is what ground monitors measure. Elevated smoke, or smoke aloft, rides higher up, above the mixed layer near the ground. It can turn the sky milky and orange without necessarily wrecking the air you breathe, though it can settle down later. Both were in play across the Great Lakes today. Marquette also named the agency behind Michigan's alert, the State Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, known by its initials EGLE, which maintains a statewide air quality alert, with smoke concentrations described as reaching the hazardous range. Now, two different air quality scales because they are easy to mix up. In the United States, the measure is the Air Quality Index, the AQI, which runs from 0 upward. 0 to 50 is good, all the way up to 301 and above, which is hazardous. Canada uses a different tool, the Air Quality Health Index, the AQHI, a health risk scale that runs from 1 to 10 and then 10 plus. A reading of 10 plus is labeled very high risk. So when you hear a Canadian city at 10 plus and an American city at, say, 300, they are two different scales telling the same grim story. And here is the source of it all, from official Canadian numbers.
The Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center, in its National Situation Report dated July 16th, listed 898 active wildfires, a national preparedness level of 4, 40 new fires that day, and around 2.8 million hectares burned so far this year. It described wildland fire activity as significant, with high demand for shared firefighting resources. Preparedness level 4, on that national scale, signals that many resources are committed and heavily in demand. On the receiving end, Environment and Climate Change Canada, in its Toronto Air Quality Bulletin issued just after noon Eastern on July 17th, had actually improved to a reading of 2, low risk, in the early afternoon, but forecast a rebound all the way to 10+, very high risk, Friday night and Saturday, under a standing orange air quality warning. Their words, smoke from wildfires in northwestern Ontario continues to result in very poor air quality, and very poor air quality will return to all regions this evening and may persist into Saturday. One more layer with the caution. The Government of Ontario publishes measured fine particulate values from its monitoring stations. In the small hours of July 17th, several southern Ontario stations reported extraordinary surface readings, with Port Stanley near 433, London around 350, and Grand Bend around 335 micrograms per cubic meter. The caution: Ontario labels these as automatically polled and not yet final verified, so treat them as preliminary. Fine particulate, often written PM2.5, means particles smaller than 2.5 microns, the tiny smoke bits that lodge deep in the lungs, which is exactly why officials urge sensitive groups to stay indoors when levels spike. Let us widen out to the heat, because it is a big story on multiple continents right now. In the United States, one official alert stands out. The National Weather Service office serving Minneapolis and St. Paul issued an extreme heat warning on the morning of July 17th, in effect until 9 p.m. that evening for the 7 core Twin Cities counties. Its plain description reads, dangerously hot conditions with heat index values of 100 to 105, and it is classified at the severe level. An extreme heat warning is the most serious heat product, reserved for dangerous, potentially life-threatening heat. Across Minnesota that same day, several heat advisories, a step below a warning, were running at the same time as air quality alerts for smoke. That warning uses a phrase worth explaining because it applies worldwide: cumulative heat stress. When nights stay hot, your body never gets its usual overnight chance to cool down and recover, so the strain adds up day after day. That is why multi-day heat waves are more dangerous than a single hot afternoon. Zooming out, much of the country has been under what meteorologists call a heat dome, which we will define properly at the end of the show. News and official summaries describe it affecting up to 2/3 of the continental United States, with the Weather Service anticipating dozens of local temperature records challenged, and Billings, Montana reaching 111 degrees earlier in the stretch. Now to Europe, where the authoritative voice is the Copernicus Climate Change Service, the European Union's climate monitoring program. Copernicus confirmed that June 2026 was Western Europe's hottest June on record, with a land average temperature of 20.74 degrees Celsius, about 3.06 degrees Celsius above the 1991 to 2020 average, and it was the second warmest June globally on record. The World Meteorological Organization's record tally from that stretch included a new national high of 37 degrees Celsius in Denmark, a Dutch national record of 39.4, and 40.5 degrees Celsius at Barcelona's Fabra Observatory on July 8th, its highest reading in more than a century of records. Tragically, more than 10,000 excess deaths were recorded across Europe during the late June heat wave, according to the Euromomo Mortality Network. By July 17th, the worst of that European heat was easing, according to Météo France. In Canada, earlier in the week, southern Ontario had been under a yellow-level heat warning with humidex values in the upper 30s to mid-40s. By July 17th, the dominant Ontario hazard had shifted to the smoke we just covered, with heat and smoke overlapping. The humidex is Canada's humidity-adjusted feels-like number, their cousin to the American heat index. Next stop is Israel, where the Israel Meteorological Service is running a colorful patchwork of heat warnings, and the pattern itself is the interesting part. On July 17th, the service posted orange-level heat stress warnings, one covering the Hula Valley and North Judean Desert area from late morning into the evening, and another running overnight into July 18th, plus a yellow-level high sea warning for dangerous Mediterranean swimming conditions in the afternoon and evening. Looking just ahead to July 18th, the service escalated to a red early warning for heat stress in the Beit Shean Valley, the Kinneret or Sea of Galilee Valley, and the Jordan Valley, along with orange early warnings for the Dead Sea, the Lut Gulf, and the southern Arava. Notice the geography. Representative July 17th temperatures attributed to the Meteorological Service put the Mediterranean coast, places like Tel Aviv and Haifa, only in the high 20s to about 30 degrees Celsius, while the interior rift valleys ran much hotter. The Sea of Galilee area into the mid-30s, Beit Shean and the Dead Sea coast reaching 38, and Eilat on the Red Sea up to about 41. Here is why that is meteorologically interesting. The coast stays comparatively mild because of the sea breeze, that daily onshore wind that carries cooler, moist Mediterranean air inland and caps the afternoon temperature. The interior rift valleys get no such relief. Many of them sit at or below sea level, and as air sinks into those deep basins, it is compressed and warms further, a process called adiabatic compression. That is why the service frames its alerts as heat stress, which accounts for the combined load of temperature and humidity on the human body, rather than air temperature alone. So Israel gives us a beautiful small-scale lesson. Two places a short drive apart can face completely different heat risk because of the sea and the shape of the land.
Now to one of the most misunderstood places in all of weather, the Lut Desert of Iran, known in Persian as the Deshte Lut. You may have heard it called the hottest place on Earth, and there is truth in that, but we have to be precise, because two very different measurements get tangled together. First, the famous number. NASA satellites, using an instrument that reads the temperature of the ground itself, measured a land surface temperature in the Lut Desert of about 70.7 degrees Celsius, roughly 159 degrees Fahrenheit, back in the 2003 to 2005 period at a dark lava plateau called Gondom Barayan. But here's the crucial part. That is the skin temperature of the ground, how hot the dark surface got in direct sun, not the air temperature. The air a couple of meters up, which is what standard thermometers measure, was cooler. And that reading is from 20 years ago. It is historical context, not today's weather. So what about right now? The distinction here is between land surface temperature, the ground skin, and the standard 2-meter air temperature that official records use. For this July, the highest standard air temperature reported on Earth so far in 2026 was 52.1 degrees Celsius, about 126 Fahrenheit, in the Iranian city of Del Haran on July 13th, which came after 51.5 the day before. Two honest caveats on that figure. Del Haran is not inside the Lut Desert. It lies to the west near the Zagros foothills. And the outlets reporting it attribute it to weather monitoring data without naming a specific meteorological agency. So we present it as reported, not as agency confirmed. It also sits below Iran's all-time national record. As for the Lut Desert specifically, we have to be candid. A current, official, in-desert 2-meter observation was not available to us for this episode. What we can say is that broader forecast guidance for July 17th showed lower elevation eastern Iran, the Lut's wider neighborhood, in the range of 46 to 48 degrees Celsius, with parts of western and southern Iran and neighboring Iraq near 50 to 51. So the takeaway is this. The Lut's legendary 70-degree number is a ground surface record from the past, and today's air temperatures in the region, while genuinely extreme, are a different and lower measurement.
From the dry desert, we move to the opposite problem, the wet, heavy air of the Persian Gulf, where humidity, not just temperature, is the danger. Our most striking single reading came from a station at the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow passage at the Gulf's mouth, which on the evening of July 17th showed about 30 degrees Celsius, that is 86 Fahrenheit, with 80% relative humidity. An honest label first. That reading is from a commercial weather aggregator, not an official meteorological service. And coastal humidity sensors can read artificially high in sea fog or dew, so treat the 80% as an aggregator observation rather than a certified extreme. From those two numbers, temperature and humidity, we can estimate the comfort metrics. And I want to stress the word estimate. Using standard formulas, that combination works out to a dew point of about 79 degrees Fahrenheit, a wet bulb temperature near 27 degrees Celsius, and a heat index, the feels-like temperature, of roughly 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Let us define these carefully. The dew point is the temperature to which air must cool for its moisture to condense. The higher it is, the muggier the air, and a dew point near 79 Fahrenheit is oppressive. The wet bulb temperature is the lowest temperature you can reach by evaporating water into the air, which is essentially how cool your sweat can make you. When the wet bulb climbs toward the mid-30s Celsius, the human body can no longer shed heat, and that is considered the survivability limit. A wet bulb near 27 is not at that limit, but it is high enough to make exertion genuinely dangerous. These three values are modeled estimates from the measured temperature and humidity, not directly observed instruments. For official context, national agencies around the Gulf paint the broader picture. The United Arab Emirates National Center for Meteorology, relayed through local media, forecast overnight coastal humidity up to 85% and inland highs of 42 to 47 degrees Celsius. Saudi Arabia's National Center for Meteorology warned of 49 to 50 degrees Celsius in the eastern region, and Iraq's National Meteorological Authority forecast southern cities above 50 degrees Celsius. We should note that a certified station dew point or wet bulb from an official Gulf agency was not available to us for this episode. The health point stated plainly and without drama: when the air is both hot and this humid, sweat evaporates poorly, so the body struggles to cool itself, and the risk of heat exhaustion and heat stroke rises, especially at night when the heat barely lets up. If you are ever in conditions like these, rest in the shade or air conditioning, drink water, and check on people who are vulnerable. Now to the National Severe Storm Picture from the Storm Prediction Center, the branch of the National Weather Service in Norman, Oklahoma, that forecasts organized severe thunderstorms for the whole country. First, the status as of our cutoff. As of 12:53 in the afternoon Central Time, there were no active severe thunderstorm or tornado watches anywhere in the country. The center's page read simply, "No watches are currently valid." There had been an early morning mesoscale discussion for the Edwards Plateau of Texas, but it was issued just after 2 a.m. and had already expired by our cutoff, so we will not treat it as current. A watch means conditions are becoming favorable for severe storms over a broad area. A warning, by contrast, means a storm is happening or imminent right where you are. A mesoscale discussion is a short note the center writes about a developing local threat, often before deciding whether to issue a watch. Here is today's Day 1 Outlook, issued at 11:30 in the morning Central Time, read in part as written. There is a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms over portions of the northern Rockies and High Plains, Upper Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley to the southeast. Strong to potentially severe storms are possible today across parts of western Montana and northern Idaho, and also across parts of the upper Midwest and northern Great Lakes. More isolated strong to severe storms with damaging wind gusts are possible over parts of the Ohio Valley and southeast. On the Great Lakes piece, the center added that a decaying cluster of storms was spreading across northern Michigan, that smoke would remain a factor, and that a few storms could become supercells with isolated large hail, damaging gusts, and even a brief tornado risk near Lake Superior. Let us define the terms. Marginal is level 1 of 5, the lowest severe category. A supercell is a rotating, long-lived thunderstorm, the type most likely to produce big hail and tornadoes. Damaging gusts are straight-line winds strong enough to cause damage. Tomorrow is the bigger day. The Day 2 Outlook, issued at 12:29 in the afternoon Central Time, was upgraded, read in part as written. There is an enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms for parts of the lower Great Lakes into the mid-Atlantic. Severe thunderstorms are expected across portions of the Ohio Valley and lower Great Lakes into the mid-Atlantic and northeast, mainly Saturday afternoon into the evening. A 45% wind area has been added, resulting in a categorical upgrade to level 3, enhanced risk. Effective shear of 35 to 45 knots will support organized clusters and possibly occasional supercells, while strong heating and steep low-level lapse rates will result in a favorable wind damage environment. In addition to a wind damage threat, some hail and tornado potential may also evolve with any supercell development given the presence of favorable effective storm relative helicity. The technical terms there, enhanced is level 3 of 5, a solid step up from today. The 45% wind area is a probability contour. It means a 45% chance of damaging wind within about 25 miles of any point inside it. And crossing that threshold is what bumped the risk to level 3. Effective shear, as we discussed, is the storm-relevant change of wind with height, and 35 to 45 knots is plenty to organize storms. Low-level lapse rates describe how quickly temperature drops with height near the ground. When they are steep, the atmosphere is unstable and downdrafts can accelerate, which favors wind damage. And effective storm relative helicity is a measure of the low-level spin available to a storm. When it is favorable, rotating storms and tornadoes become more possible. So the short version: today, scattered lower-end risks in several regions. Saturday, a more organized, wind-driven severe setup from the lower Great Lakes into the mid-Atlantic. Let us pull the camera all the way back and talk about the big-picture machinery, the synoptic scale features. Because the same character keeps showing up in today's discussions, a great dome of high pressure aloft. Both the Chicago and Marquette offices described an upper-level ridge overhead. Chicago spoke of moisture being, in their words, gobbled up by the upper ridge atop the Great Lakes, and Marquette opened with a stubborn, broad ridge parked over the central part of the country. An upper-level ridge is a northward bulge in the high-altitude winds that marks a zone of warm, sinking air. When that ridge is strong and stubborn, we call it a heat dome. Here is the mechanism, and it is elegantly simple. Under the ridge, air gently sinks. Sinking air is compressed and warms. That warming suppresses clouds and lets the sun bake the surface day after day, which is exactly the pattern behind the current United States heat. The Storm Prediction Center gave us a related bit of vocabulary when it referenced winds in the 500 millibar flow. Let me unpack that because it connects heat and height in a beautiful way. Atmospheric pressure falls as you go up. The 500 millibar level is simply the altitude where the pressure has dropped to 500 millibars, roughly the middle of the atmosphere by weight. The height of that level is called its geopotential height. Now, the key idea: warm air is less dense and takes up more vertical space. So, a warm column of air puffs up and pushes that 500 millibar level higher. That is why higher 500 millibar heights go hand in hand with a warmer, deeper, ridge-dominated atmosphere. Now, one feature you often hear tied to eastern United States heat and humidity is the Bermuda High. In fairness, and to keep us honest, none of the official products we pulled for July 17th actually named the Bermuda High as the driver of this event, so I am offering it purely as background. The Bermuda High is a semi-permanent zone of high pressure that parks over the western Atlantic near Bermuda in summer. Its clockwise circulation tends to pump warm, humid air from the ocean and the Gulf northwestward into the eastern United States, steering both heat and moisture. It is a classic summer moisture mover, but again, for this specific day, it was not the cited cause. So, there is our tour. A warm, humid, smoky, storm-speckled Friday in Chicago. A river of Canadian wildfire smoke feeding on 898 active fires, an extreme heat warning over the Twin Cities, a record-hot European June confirmed by Copernicus, red heat stress alerts in Israel's Rift Valleys, the honest, careful truth about the Lut Desert, a heavy, humid Persian Gulf, and a severe storm threat that ramps up on Saturday, all sitting beneath a big dome of high pressure aloft. Let me close with the same promise I opened with. This episode prioritizes official government and meteorological sources, and every figure was drawn from a forecast product at the time we stated. Where a number came instead from a secondary or commercial source, as with the Iran temperature reports and the Strait of Hormuz reading, we said so plainly and treated it as reported rather than confirmed. Our information cutoff was 12:53 in the afternoon Central Time on July 17th, 2026. Weather is a moving target, so these forecasts can and will change. For anything touching your safety, your local weather service is always the final authority. And once more, for the record, this episode was produced with the assistance of artificial intelligence, including research, writing, and narration. The weather information was drawn from the sources described at the time stated. This program is for general information, and it is not a substitute for official warnings from your National Weather Service or local emergency authorities. Thanks for listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. Stay curious, stay cool, and check on your neighbors.